All right, everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to It's Go Time. Now, before we get going, if I can ask you guys not to send me text messages while I'm up here, because you know what? When you're moving around and you're doing a whole hosting thing and you get one of those texts, it can really throw you off. So I'd really appreciate it if you save that to the end. I mean, you wouldn't do that in a real theater, would you? You'd walk up to the stage and, pass the actors a note. Hey, you actor up there, and then slide him a note, right? You'd find that security would be escorting you out of the building rather quickly. So let's not try that in here, okay? Also, if I can ask you guys to stay off of this raised up stage area, this way nobody blocks the display behind me, and it gives me a little bit of room to move around and do the whole hosting thing, right? Also, you're going to notice at the top of your menu wheel, there is a microphone icon that kind of looks like, let's see here if I can get this, kind of looks like this right here. Now, when that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear everything happening in your environment, and I mean everything, all right? So we've gone ahead and we've turned that to red. This way, if somebody comes into your space and says, hey, are you still on that thing? You feel free to answer them. Likewise, if maybe you have a barking dog in the background and, you don't want to face social ruin back at the campfire by becoming known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during its quest time, right? But don't worry about that because that microphone icon is red, and that means you're muted, so we're not going to hear any of that stuff, right? But just because you're muted does not mean you can't participate, does not mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice that you have a pink cheeked smiley face in that menu wheel, and when you press on that, your emoji panel opens up in the air in front of you as if by magic, offering you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. So if, for example, I share something with you guys, right, something deeply personal and meaningful, and you start to feel it right here, you have the feelings, right, and they're rising up and they're building up, you can just let it out and let it flow just like that. Maybe I got some backup dancers backstage, right, and maybe, just maybe, you guys are impressed when they come out and we put on It's Go Time the musical, and you're like, wow, the production value in Altspace is incredible, right? You can throw up the applause I live for just like that, and I could take a moment to drink it all in because it feels good. All right, also, if I ask you guys a yes or a no question, you can say yes by smiling like this. You can say no by frowning like that. And if I do or say something funny, you guys can show me you're laughing by using the silly face emoji right here, right? And then there's this thing. Right, this is by far the most distracting of all the emojis. I think we can agree on that, right? And we're not going to use this to, raise our hand to ask a question, right? We will be taking questions and comments at the end of this event, but during the event, if sometimes there's audio trouble in Altspace, if my voice gets all choppy, right, you're going to want to let me know that by doing that, right? Or maybe our moderators have had enough. They've seen one It's Go Time too many, and they've decided to set, the stage on fire. And I don't know. I'm out here and there's a big fire behind me. You guys got to let me know that, right? That's going to be our sacred bond. That's going to be our agreement. That's going to be our pact, right? Between you, the audience, and me. The host, we're going to keep doing it like that, right? So, hey, listen, if I see one of these go up, just by itself, I'm probably going to keep on going. But if I see 5 go up at one time, I know there's a problem that I'm going to need to address, right? Also, on this emoji panel, you're going to notice right in the center is an X. And that X will close the panel, but you're going to want to keep it open during events like this. For one thing, it gives me feedback. It lets me know how I'm doing. But also, more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing. So if the person next to you starts going like this, right, they found something funny, and you may not agree. You might be like, well, that's not funny at all. What are you laughing at, man? That's not funny. And I'm going to go stand over here. And you can totally do that because this is VR, except for right here because, well, as we agreed, part of our pact, part of our agreement, part of our bond, right, was that you guys were going to stay off the stage area. Okay, we don't want to violate that, because it's it breaks our bond, people. I'm going to feel all betrayed. I'm like, well, the audience betrayed me. It was a good day otherwise, but, they turned on me at the end and they tried to rush the stage. It wasn't cool. All right, but yeah, so that you guys get the idea, right? Now, what's Go Time about? Go Time is an event for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on another device, please feel free to hang out. You may pick up some useful tips that, helps the Altspace Go community, right? Because there's a lot of Go users in Altspace. There's still more and more arriving each and every day. And maybe one day they'll rise up and invade the campfire and just take over Altspace completely. But we got to make sure that they're prepared if they're going to do that, right? We got to make sure that they have the info because, listen, there's a lot of challenges being on Altspace on an Oculus Go, right? Speaking of challenges, I've been in bed for about a year or so due to a medical condition, right? And, it's gotten a lot better. But when I first got my Go, I couldn't wait to get this thing on. You guys remember that? The very first time you put on a VR headset, that feeling of being taken away to another place, it's magical, man. There's nothing like it, right? And, so I was really excited about that. And I've been reading about Altspace for a while. I couldn't wait to get in here. So the very first time I came out of that load screen, right, first thing I did was I looked up, right? And back then it didn't have any of the ceiling beams. All I saw was the sky. And that sky looked a lot like what I remembered, the real world sky looking like. And I was grateful for this. I was so grateful. I started volunteering for Altspace right away, that very first day. And what I found was I couldn't make it through an entire event because my battery would run out, right? My battery would just stop and I wouldn't be able to make it through a whole event. And then I'd have to charge up. I'd have to come in. I'd have to find the event host, track him down and be like, oh, I'm so sorry I flaked out. So I got off to kind of a rocky start in here, but I started asking questions, right? I was like, how can I make my device more reliable? What can I do to fix this? And, the answers I got eventually led to this event so I could share what I found, with my fellow Go users, right? They show them what I came up with and ways that they can solve these problems. Because most of the problems that you can have in Altspace, listen, they can be solved. And the ones that can't can at least be managed. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. All right, there's two approaches you can take. You start with the device you already have on your head. Before you even leave here today, while in the event, you're going to actually experience improved performance, all right, from some of the tips you get. Also, you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And I say it this way because, listen, you hear this term thrown around a lot and it never feels good to hear it. Like on a Discord, you're going to hear like limitations, you're going to hear weaker device, you're going to hear inferior device. And when you lay down, money for a device that's really a great device, it's a wonderful introduction to VR. I'm on a Quest now, but when I first started out, if I had started out on a Quest, I wouldn't have stayed. I really wouldn't have. On the Go, I didn't have to worry about vertical height. I didn't have to worry about the complexity of two controllers, and it allowed me to get used to VR at my own pace. All right. And in that way, it really is a wonderful device. It's really, and it's a good price too. And that allowed me to get used to things. All right. And so if you hear this term being thrown around, it's really important that you remember there's another term that gets thrown around also. It's an awful lot. And that's community. Right. And you're going to see a lot of different communities represented in Altspace, rich, diverse communities, right? A lot of different groups, a lot of different people in here. Right. But you are the important part of the equation. All right. You're not what kind of headset you're wearing. All right. Because, listen, I'll be honest. If you're a jerk in a headset, you're still a jerk. Really, it's true. If you're a nice guy in a headset, you're a nice guy. It doesn't matter what headset you got. Right. So if you put on that headset, remember that you are not your headset any more than you are your house or your car. And if you hear terms like that, it really pays to remember that, I find. All right. Let's start with the device that you already have on your head. Right now, you may not have noticed this, but your device loses power even when it's not in use. So if, for example, you put your headset down as 100% charge, right? At night, by morning, it's going to have less of a charge. The charge is going to go down. And that's because your device is looking for updates to to your apps, to your firmware. Maybe your device has a pen pal on the other side of the world. Maybe your device has a whole secret life that you don't know anything about. And it's devastating to find out that kind of thing, right? So, it pays to charge this up in advance before you come into Altspace. So let's say you're out in the real world, right? If you believe in such things, and you are looking at the event calendar and you're like, oh, wow, look, Go Time's on tonight. Oh, I've heard things about that host. I've heard he's got that amazing hair, and I've heard he's got that jacket you're just starting to see everywhere, right? Seeing it all over. And you want to give it a try. So what you want to do is about an hour before the event starts, you want to plug your device in and charge it up. Make sure you have 100%, because if you come into Altspace on a 20% charge, you're going to notice that your screen is going to flicker around a little bit, right? So you want to, start out, with everything working the best way it can. And to do that, you need to have 100% battery power, okay? Now, when you first get the headset on, that center button that you press to turn the device on? When you press that button, I want you to do me a favor. Every time you put your headset on, every time you're at the Oculus home screen, make this a habit. Press and hold that power button down for about 3 or 4 seconds, and you're going to see these 3 buttons appear in the air. And that middle button, that's going to be a restart button. And when you press it, it's going to get rid of all those temporary files, right? While it was trying to update, while it was composing a letter to its pen pal, right? It's going to get rid of all that. And it's going to put the headset in its best state. So you have 100% power, right? You've cleared out the memory by resetting it. I like to think of that as clearing my mind, right? And then when you come into Altspace, you may have noticed an important role body language plays in here. You may come to an event like this, and you may notice somebody slowly shaking their head back and forth like this, side to side. That means don't do that thing, right? Or maybe somebody makes it up on the stage and I start going like this, right? Without me saying a word, that means get off my stage, right? But occasionally you're going to notice that your controller doesn't match what your hand is in the real world. So your real world hand might be right here, but your avatar's hand might be way up here. And when that happens, when I go to wave somebody off the stage, all you guys are going to see is my hand going back and forth like this, saying, hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying, get off my stage. It's very dangerous up here. I'm a trained professional. You don't want to get hurt. You wanted to stay down there in the audience where it's safe, right? But But yeah, so if this happens to you and you find that your real world hand doesn't line up to where your avatar's hand is, right, it's really easy to fix this. On the controller, you have your trackpad, and below that you have a button, and below that you have a button on that very bottom there, right? Now, you have to remember something. That bottom button is like an eject button. Don't press it now, because if you do, you're going to disappear, and I'm going to feel it down deep. I'm going to feel it real deep there, But this button does something else too. If you hold your hand at your side, you bend your elbow like that, and you look straight ahead, right? And this you can try now. If you press and hold that bottom button and don't let go, right, what's going to happen is you're going to see a white circle spin in the air in front of you, and then your hand is going to snap right into place. And when it does, take a good look at your hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? All right. Now, if it is, then you're good. You're going to be comfortable. Your body language is going to be a lot more convincing. You notice people start being nicer to you, right? Because you can be able to communicate more effectively using your body language, right? But if it's not, just go through this process as many times as it takes until you feel comfortable, and only you can determine what's comfortable for you. All right. Now, also, you're going to notice, every now and then that, those collection of circles on your lower left, your menu wheel there. Some people call that your UI, right? Now, you're going to notice every now and then that moves around. Like sometimes it'll move in front of you, right? When it drifts like that, it can make you feel a little off balance. Or sometimes even worse than that, it can go all the way behind you and you don't even see it. And somebody's like, open your main menu. And you're like, what main menu? I don't see it. They're like, it's the blue and white triangle on your left. And you're like, there's nothing there, man. When that happens, don't panic. You can always open your main menu, right? Because you got to remember, on your controller, right, you have that trackpad, then you have that middle button and that bottom button, right? That middle button is actually your main menu button. You actually have it in your hand at all times. So if your menu wheel should happen to move around or disappear, just press that button one time, that middle button, your menu will open up. And if you're looking straight ahead, when you press it again, your menu will close. But now your menu wheel is going to be right back where it belongs, right on the lower left there. So if you find it moves around in a place you don't like, just, press that menu button, the middle button there, look straight ahead, press it again, it'll close, and you'll have it right back where it belongs, which is awesome. Now, one of the best pieces of advice I got when I first started out, when I started losing power all the time, somebody told me to turn my brightness down, and I didn't want to do it. I wanted to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace, and to me, that meant having my brightness turned way up to retina burning levels, right? It was painful, man. It hurt, but my graphics were awesome. Or so I thought. Right. What I did was I was tired of losing my power. So what I did was every time I came into Altspace, when I was in the Oculus main menu, I would go to that middle, right, actually to the right, bottom right side, that tab that it says settings. Then right in the middle there, it would say brightness. And I turned off the auto brightness, and there was this big blue bar there that I could adjust. Right. And every time I came into Altspace, I would turn that brightness down a little bit more and a little bit more until finally the brightness was completely off. And I headed into Altspace, and I couldn't believe what I saw. Right. Back then, I used to help moderate for an event that was like on this island, and there was this tree in the corner. And I'd, before the event started, all the moderators would hang out there and catch up. Right. So I was walking on over there, and all of a sudden I just stopped and I looked up at that tree, and it was more realistic than I'd ever seen it before. The graphics had actually gotten better. So if you turn your brightness all the way down, right, if you're coming down from like a 75% brightness to nothing like that, it may take a few minutes to get used to it. But what you're going to find is your device has better performance, your battery is going to last longer, most importantly, but the graphics are going to be better, right? There's no reason not to do this, all right? So you actually, try that. It's going to improve your performance right away. It's definitely worth doing, right? Now, around this time, I started lasting longer in events, right? I was able to hang out after, and during that time, I learned that Oculus Go users didn't have the best reputation in Altspace. And the reason for this is because the microphone on the Oculus Go is very powerful. It's very strong, and the sound comes out of your ear straps, and it gets picked up by this microphone and projected out into Altspace through your avatar. Now, the problem is we don't know what we sound like in Altspace, all right? I was hosting at events for like a year before I heard what I sounded like in here, right? You'll notice that we have Raven Eye floating up in the air behind you guys. That's actually our YouTube channel. Right. And until we got that YouTube channel, I had no idea what I sounded like in Altspace. And actually, if you want to feel VR famous, you can stand up on this rug here and turn around and face Raven Eye and wave on out and be like, hey, Raven Eye, hey, YouTube, how's it going? Nice to see you out there. We got a lot of people in here. We got, I can't even say that. We got Tikalian Born. We've also got Bradley over here. We've got Jeremy Crandell. We've got Dangley. We've got, let's see, I can't even say that either. Shapshot, I'm going to call him, because I can't pronounce that. It's Paknaja. I have a horrible time pronouncing the names in here. But you know what? Come on in Altspace and try pronouncing them yourselves. I think you'll enjoy it. All right. But yeah, we got a lot of people in there. Yeah. So, until then, until I got that YouTube channel, I really didn't know what I sounded like in here. And it turns out it's really easy to fix this if this is happening to you. Because what will happen is, somebody will I'll be standing there in the campfire, right? And I'll be talking to somebody, and all of a sudden I'll hear a voice, right, coming from the side. And I'll turn around and I'll see it's you coming up to me, and I'm hearing my voice coming out of your avatar, and with the sound delay, it has the effect of like you're copying me, right? And you guys know from the real world, that's like super annoying, right? And a lot of times people come at you and they'll go, "Are you want to go? Are you want to go?" Now, listen, if that happens to you, it can feel kind of off-putting. But you got to remember what they're feeling is, pretty off-putting too, because all of a sudden they're hearing themselves coming out of your avatar with that sound delay. It's like copying them, right? It's really easy to fix this though. On your headset, on the top left, the leftmost side, you're going to find there's a volume down button, right? And next to that, or button right to the right of that, is a volume up button. And when you press either of these, you're going to see these vertical bars appear in the air in front of you, and some will be solid and some will be clear. What you're going for is 4 clear bars on the right side, and that's going to set the volume at such a level that the microphone's not going to pick up the sound as easily, right? But this comes at a price, right? Now, people will start being nicer to you almost right away when you do this, right? But the price is sometimes you're going to have to strain to hear people. Now, you got to remember, you still have one good hand in the real world. Right now, you can try this now. If you take your left hand and you cup it to your ear like that, hold that right up to your ear, you're going to notice that the sound of my voice goes up, right? It's a way to temporarily increase the volume, right? Which is great. This is the way you can hear people better. But the surefire way to fix this is to get a pair of headphones and attach them to your headset, right? That'll definitely take care of it. Or you can get a pair of inexpensive earbuds like I did and attach those. And after that, the only sound coming out of your avatar is going to be your own, all right? Except unless maybe you have a family member that comes in and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" And the best solution for that is to get, them a headset, right? And then when somebody comes into the space and asks them if they're still on that thing, right, then they'll get them a headset. And before you know it, the whole world will be in VR, right? And that's how we spread this thing. We just keep on doing that. And then see. Let's see. Okay, I'm getting a text here. All right, from one of my mods here. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay. It threw me off. Like I said, getting text up here can really knock you down a little bit. Really kind of dodge them. You know what? When a text come in, I got to start going like this and just, dodge them. Like, go to the side. Whoa, look out. There's another one. Here comes one now. Oh, look out. Here it's coming. All right. So now another thing you got to keep in mind, right? When you do this, listen, when I added those earbuds to my device, right, and that solved like my problem with the audio feedback, I started to wonder, what else can I add to my device to make it perform better in Altspace, right? And I started asking this question, and I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. All right. Now, I call it this because I didn't feel like I was on a regular Go anymore, because I would go to performance-heavy spaces, right, and I'd see my fellow Go users disappear as their devices crashed, right? And you know what? When they came in and, and I'd see that, I would still be there. I would last. My device became super reliable, and yours can too. You just got to make a few small changes. But before I discuss them, and in order to discuss them, I have to discuss these products that are behind me, right? And I like to say that these are not the only products that work. You can find a different brand, different colors, different whatever, to really give you a sense of, make things work better for you, and if you try something different, come back and tell us about it. I love hearing different approaches that people take. Now, the temptation is going to be to write this stuff down. You don't need to do that. We made it super easy to find this stuff. If you go to altvr.com, in the upper left, you're going to see a link for channels. And when you click on this, you're going to see all these really great event channels in Altspace, right? And down toward the bottom, the admins assured me that being on the bottom like that doesn't mean anything, right? They say it means nothing at all. I shouldn't take it personally being on the bottom. But down on the bottom, you're going to see Ravenhall events, right? And when you click on that, you're going to be taken to our event page. And on our event page, on the left-hand side of the screen there, you're going to see on the left side of that page, you're going to see all these products listed out if you want to try any, right? Now, also down toward the bottom, you're going to see a join Discord button, right? And that's a great way to say hello to us or ask us questions, or if you want to, if you just want to say hello or you want to help us put on events like this, that's a great place to do that. That's where we organize our events. Also, in the upper right, you're going to see the most important button on the internet. It's true, that's where they keep it, right? The subscribe button. And when you press on this, it lets Altspace know that you enjoy our content. Now, we don't get paid to do this at all. Right? So every time we see that number go up, it makes us feel good. It's a wonderful way to say thank you. Even better if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's just the best. And if you're watching that on YouTube right now and you want to try these products out, you can find the links in the description below. All right. So, all right. So that being said, what are these products? You have the Anker PowerCore battery pack up at the top. And I figured, listen, Oculus says we shouldn't use our devices while they're plugged in, but they say it is cool to use an external battery pack. And I figured that this would solve my, what's going on here? We got some people chasing each other in here. Well, okay. But yeah, I figured this would solve my power problem, right? And around the time that I ordered it, I became aware that a lot of people were having problems charging their device. Because listen, I don't know if you've noticed this, when you plug in your headset, right, that port is very tight. And all that wear and tear, eventually, it's going to loosen the connection so much that it's not going to charge as effectively, right? That's why I found this middle product here called a MagSafe cable, where one tip plugs into your headset, the other USB end plugs into that battery pack there, and it's held in place by a magnetic connector that turns out is a fantastic safety feature. Like if you turn your head and that wire just kind of pops off there, right? It's great because it doesn't yank your headset, doesn't turn your world upside down as the headset gets pulled, right? What happens is it just pops off, and you don't even have to come out of VR to fix that. You can just pick up that cable, hold it near your headset, and it'll kind of pop into place, right? And if your microphone is open, it's going to make this thunk sound, right? And your friends are going to go, "What was that?" And you're going to go, "That's pure power. That's what that was. That was absolute power." You don't have to say that. It's going to make it work any differently. It's just something I just like to do, and feel free to use that if you like. All right, now. Around this time, I started lasting a lot longer in Altspace because I solved my power problem, right? But I had a new problem. I started overheating all the time. All right. Now that's very common on an Oculus Go where you're going to overheat a lot. And some people have taken pretty creative measures to solve this. Some people use ice packs and bags of frozen peas to bring down the temperature. And I don't recommend doing this because when you put that on your face, you're going to get condensation on your device. And that's like, let's see, water and electricity on your face, right? Probably not a good idea. And what you're going to notice too is I know I've heard of people who have taken that route and they actually had to go through more than one device. All right. So I don't think it's good to do this. But I think a much safer option is this bottom product here. This is a USB. It's made by a USB mini fan by a company called AC Infinity. Right. And what you want to do is you got to understand that the faceplate on the Oculus Go is installed by hand. Right. And as such, people have different results with it. Some people overheat every half hour. Some people overheat every 20 minutes. I knew a guy that overheated every 2 minutes and he kept coming in Altspace. And during one of the first go times, we had a user ask us a question that they said, what does it mean when the headset gets all melted and pushed in? Right. It sent me a picture of this. The whole headset was all pushed in and all deformed and stuff. Right. And that got me really worried. I was like, we got to solve this problem. So we found this AC Infinity mini USB mini fan. Right. And you have to make sure that the silver part is facing the faceplate. But how to attach it? Some people use string. I know some people have used double-sided tape, right? Also, in my case, I use those elastic hair bands, right? I put them in the ear straps, and I made like an X, and I made sure that I wrapped them around the round rubber feet. You just got to make sure that the silver part is facing the faceplate, okay? Now, once you do this, I come into VR, right, to test it out, and I had those wires coming down. If you've ever seen Star Trek, I felt like an orc, I had all those wires coming down, and you get used to it actually. But I wanted to test it out to find out where the limits were. So I went to an event. The meditation event in Altspace, right? I used to moderate for them, and I would overheat 20 minutes into the experience every single time. Right? It was always 20 minutes. So I figured this would be a great place to test it, right? So I went up to the host, Jeremy, really nice guy, and I asked him, I said, "Can you hear my fan?" And he says, "Not at all." And I thought that was great. So I turned it up to medium. I said, "How about now?" And he says, "A little bit, but it's not that bad." And I said, "Okay." So I turned it up to full blast, and before I could even ask, he turns around and he goes, "You're gonna want to turn that down. You sound like you're lost at sea, man. You sound like you're in a wind tunnel. You're going to want to fix that." So what I did was I said, okay. And I didn't want to ruin the event. So I turned it all the way down to the lowest setting. And spoiler alert, I never had to turn it up again. On its lowest setting, this is what happened. I went through the event, and 20 minutes came, and 20 minutes went. And I didn't overheat at all, right? And then I wanted to see where the line was, right? So, I stayed to the end, and I didn't overheat. I was very happy about that. So I went to another event, and I didn't overheat at all. That's 2 events in a row, and I didn't overheat once, right? Then I went to another event. That's 3 events in a row. And I didn't overheat at all. It was fantastic. So I went to my home space, right, and started hanging out with my friends, and then it happened. For the very first time, I left Altspace by choice because I actually wanted to. I didn't leave because I was overheating. I didn't leave because I ran out of power. I left because I was actually tired, right? And I actually wanted to go. It never happened before. And then, and it wouldn't be for the last time. After that, I was all over the place. I started moderating events all the time. I started hosting events all the time. I was everywhere. And you can be too. All you have to do is make a few small changes to your device. None of this stuff is very expensive. You're going to find that this bottom product here, this USB mini fan, is about $10 or $11 US. This middle product here, the MagSafe cable, is about $7 US. And that top product there, that Anker Power Core battery pack is the most expensive thing up there. That's about $30, $40 US. And you know what? Right? You don't have to use that size battery. All right. They come in smaller capacities. They're cheaper. Like maybe you're not going to spend 16 hours in VR, right? Maybe you only need a few hours a night. You can get by with a smaller battery pack, right? So, try this out, and you will have a much different experience in Altspace. But you know what? There's still going to be some problems, and these problems can be managed. The first one I'm going to talk about is, let's say I turn left to Bradley over there, right? And, I go to say something, but instead of turning left, I go straight. And I'm like, well, that was weird. How'd that happen? So I go to turn right to tell Hummingbird about it. And instead of turning right, I go straight again. And I'm like, whoa, that was really unusual. And I go to press down on my trackpad to move backwards to back up so I can see them. But instead of going backwards, I go straight again. And I start to panic and I start bashing on those buttons on the controller. But no matter what I do, I keep moving forward. And the next thing you know, I'm standing inside of an admin. All right. There is nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. When I was in there, man, I saw things. I saw the past. I saw the future. I saw things that keep me up at night that I can't even think about. All right. But what I can tell you is how to solve this problem if it happens to you. All right. Your trackpad, it's a touchpad and it's sensitive to heat, moisture, and of course, touch, right? So when you're touching this trackpad there, right, occasionally you're going to need to reset that connection. All right. And the way you do this is you take your thumb and you gently, without pushing down, swipe your thumb from right to left or left to right. The direction doesn't matter, but just very gently swipe your thumb from one side to the other. And when you get to the other side, lift that thumb up in the air and cross over to the other side. And when you come down, do it again. Just swipe again, right? Now, you do this 2 or 3 times and you make this a habit. So if you find like you go to move left, but you go straight instead, just go swipe, 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 and then try to move again. And you're going to find that you're moving in the ways that you want. All right, so that'll take care of that. Right. Now, also, every now and then when you put your headset on, you're going to notice, right, you get this message that says, can't find controller, right? And, sometimes it's going to happen if you need to replace your battery in your controller, right? But you put a fresh battery in it last night, but you're still getting this message. What's going on? Maybe your controller found out about your headset's secret life and isn't happy about it, right? Maybe it's not thrilled by that. And, what you can do to fix this is you don't even have to take your headset off. All you have to do is remember 2 words, all right? Double down. If you remember those 2 words, you'll be fine. Because those bottom 2 buttons on your controller, if you press and hold those at the same time for about 4 seconds, a little white light's going to appear on your trackpad. Now, if you're wearing your headset, you're not going to see this white light. But what you will see is as soon as you lift your thumb back up off those buttons, you've got your hand back. And then you go into that load screen, and then you're on time for your event. And while you're in the load screen, you're like, man, I am glad I went to go time. That Michael Forrest, he knew what he was talking about. He told me to double down, and now I got to be on time for my event. And if that happens to you, you're welcome. All right. Now, another thing that's going to happen in Altspace is occasionally you're going to notice your screen goes dark, right? It's really annoying when this happens, right? And the reason for this doesn't just happen to Go users. This also happens to any mobile device. If you're here today and you're on a Quest, this is going to happen to you too. And the reason this happens is because everything you see in this room, the stage, display, that big red shiny button that we use at the end of our events, does something cool, stick around for that, right? All this stuff, it takes up memory. And when your memory gets full, your display will go dark. And you'll still be able to hear people if your microphone is open, so you can tell everybody, hey, I can't see, I'll be right back. And then all you do is press that bottom eject button on your controller, right? It'll take you out of Altspace. And then you press quit, you restart the app, and you come back in Altspace, and everything should be okay. Now, the way you want to do this is, the way you want to solve this is by managing it from an advanced position before it happens. Like, let's say that you've just explored 3 worlds. Now, all those objects they're in your headset right now, right? So your memory is getting filled up. And your friend says, let's go to the campfire. Well, you know that your memory is kind of full now because you've just been in 3 worlds. So what you want to do is say, okay, I'll see you there. I'll catch up in a minute. Then what you do is you press that bottom eject button on your controller. You press quit. You restart the app. You come into Altspace, right? And you're going to find that, you'll be able to see again, right? And you're going to be able to handle when this comes out. All right. So let's see. So that'll help with that. Now, around this time, I normally, get building world tips, but I'm a little bit over on time. Unless you guys really want to see that, I'm just going to skip that today, if that's okay. All right. So you're going to throw me up some hearts if you're really set on seeing this. Otherwise we'll just jump right into the questions. All right, cool. All right. So let's just jump into the questions then. Okay. All right. Let's see. So if you have any questions or comments, what you're going to see is a raise hand button appear in your lower right, as if by magic, because that's what magic looks like in VR. And if you have a question or a comment or something like that, you press that button, you're going to get on my list there. That's that raise hand button on the lower right. And while we wait for that list to fill up, if you are on Twitter and you want to follow us, you can find us at _ Uncanny Valley. I know that looks like 1 underscore, but it is actually 2. All right, let's see. We have somebody on the list here, and let's see. We have Jeremy. Jeremy, you have a question or a comment? What's up? Jeremy Crandall, what's going on? You're on the air. Okay, I'm not hearing you talking. Maybe you got an issue with your microphone because I see you are unmuted. Okay, looks like you're typing. Okay, maybe you're sending me a message or something. Maybe if you're having an audio problem, what you want to do is you go to altvr.com/support. They can get your microphone working again. Or maybe you see a campfire admin. That could be what's going on there, but we're not hearing you. At least I'm not hearing. If you guys are hearing them, maybe somebody's willing to translate. Okay, well, I don't see anyone else on the list here. If anybody has any questions that I missed, at the end of our events, we go to the Ravenhall Flight Academy and we teach you guys how to fly. So if you have any more questions or comments, please feel free to join me there. And the way we're going to get there, we're going to get there in style, everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to press this button on the wall. And when I do, you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft fly by this window, right? It's very cool. It's going to go up over those trees. It's going to touch down in that backyard there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press this button. Watch out that window. See what happens.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
There it is. Oh, awesome. All right, everybody. Let's go out and meet it. Now, again, you can fly these ships if you like to just by joining us at the Flight Academy. And listen, if you've learned anything here today, right, please share it with those you come in contact with. So, maybe you're standing around and suddenly you see another avatar says, oh no, my face is on fire. I keep overheating. Tell them about the fan. Tell them about our event page. Tell them about our event, and help set them up, because that's how we help keep this thing going. All right, here comes the Talon, everybody. Remember, you can fly these guys.
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. You've been a great audience, and I'll see you next time.